Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. We just wrapped up watching Spain beat Argentina in extra time to win their second ever World Cup. One of the most intense extra times that I have ever seen in my life. It looked like Argentina had an opportunity in stoppage in that second half to get something out of this game, maybe get it to penalties, but no. This was the Spain show. From minute 1 to minute 120, they were completely dominating Argentina. I knew that they wouldn't be playing around in terms of possession and controlling this entire match. It depended upon on whether or not they could finish their chances. And they didn't. Yet they still managed to get this into extra time. Ferran Torres is the hero for that. But let's start all the way in this first half here, where Spain was completely controlling this one. Lamine Yamal had an opportunity to score a goal to put Spain ahead 1-0, but ultimately couldn't finish that opportunity. And Argentina getting 0 touches to Messi within that regard and 0 shots on target in regulation. They really didn't look like themselves. And to be quite honest with you, there was no actual answers for Scaloni to go to on the bench within this one. You end up seeing Lisandro Martinez having to be subbed out early. And then with Paredes in there as well, coming in as the substitute, he looked like he was going to get a double yellow as well. And that brings me to Enzo Fernandez, right? All Enzo Fernandez and Argentina had to do towards the end of regulation was to simply sit back and wait till you get into extra time so he could be even numbers. Instead, he gets baited by Kubarsi, goes in and gets his second yellow. It's the worst moment of his career after he just had the biggest with that goal against England in the semifinals. This guy was an absolute disaster when it came to keeping his cool in the biggest of moments. It doesn't matter how he apologizes to everybody in Argentina. He messed up in this one, and he is the scapegoat. And despite that, Argentina were not playing well. It's not even to say that they would have won in extra time. I think that it would have been a lot more difficult for them. But Enzo Fernandez didn't give them the opportunity to do so. So hang your head in shame in there, Enzo. And then Spain here. I mean, you could have argued that Nico Williams' goal there was a complete robbery where Mikel Merino supposedly steps on Otamendi. Listen, I'm not going into the whole corruption side of things, but that was absolutely bogus. I think 9 out of 10 times that goal stands. I guess that was a 1 out of the 10 in the World Cup final. But no matter for Spain, Ferran Torres, the hero. There's been a lot of inconsistent forwards in Spain. They're good players. They're not prolific strikers and scorers like we're used to in the past with some of their all-time greats, Fernando Torres and David Villa being 2 of those guys. This is a little bit similar to where they were in 2010, where they just weren't capable of consistently thrashing teams. They only scored a ton of goals against a side like Saudi Arabia. They were really grinding out matches and controlling them to get to their opportunities. Mikel Merino was clutch on multiple occasions. This Spanish side, again, 2024 Euro winners, into being the longest international unbeaten run of all time. They beat Italy's record at 37. For them, this is one of the best teams that we've seen. They go from Euro to World Cup winners, and they're the last ones to do so since Spain themselves in 08 and 2010, and then they won the Euro again. For me, this Spanish performance all World Cup long was so indicative on how dominant the midfield was. When you're not starting someone like Pedri, that shows how talented you are. And they overcame everything I thought that were their biggest struggles, like I said, with their finishing. Pau Kubarsi, hats off to you. Unai Simon also had a fantastic tournament. But I really want to talk about one player in particular because the elevation of his status in historical references to this sport is Rodri. What Rodri did in this World Cup was one of the most impressive things that you will see. Coming off his torn ACL as well a couple of seasons ago, it didn't ever feel like we would have gotten the best version of him again. He struggled when he first returned, and it took him a little while to get his legs underneath him. This tournament, best midfielder, best. And I don't know what happens here with the Golden Ball winner, but I have to be honest with you. You have to give it to the winner of this team. And I know they'll probably go to Messi or whatever the situation is here. We're talking about somebody that dictates and controls the tempo of this match. They're able to sub him out, and they do well in extra time. But Rodri controlled everything. He was incredibly calm. One of the best captain performances that you'll see. I haven't really seen a midfielder have this sort of tournament in quite some time. I know Pogba, Matuidi, and Kanté were fantastic for France, and we've seen other great midfield performances, most notably Zidane, Iniesta, and Xavi in 2010 as well. But Rodri's right up there with them. Truthfully, I know a lot of people are going to be sitting there, the goals and the assists aren't there. I get that sort of impact. But at the end of the day, it's not his job. His job is to control the match, and that's exactly what he did. And he did it on the biggest of stages. Just hats off to him. That was one of the greatest performances that we've ever seen. So, Rodri, kudos. Now over to the losers for a moment. And in particular, we'll talk about Messi here. We have to because this is the greatest player of all time, and this was probably his last competitive international match that we've ever seen. He goes out losing his second World Cup. Even getting to three finals is absurd. Likely winning three players of the tournament, never been done before. At one point, the World Cup's goal scoring record, assist record as well for the entire tournament. What this guy was able to do at age 38, 39 in this tournament was nothing short of extraordinary. Um, right now, it's one thing to be upset about him losing in the final if you're a huge Messi fan. But one thing that you have to take into account is that the fact they got back to the final, okay, back into the final is an enormous feat for any country with any player within their prime. And he was able to do it at the back half of his career in 2022 and 2026. I mean, not a great game from him today, but that's kudos to Spain. That's all about Spain dominating and controlling, as I mentioned. For Argentina, at times, especially in the first half, they looked like they were trying to force feed Messi the ball, which played right into Spain's game plan. Fine, you don't want to take the space on the flank, force it into Messi in the middle if you think that's what your best option was. And they lived with it day in, day out, play in, play out, pass in, pass out. Like it was so masterful by Spain. And there's always moments where you see score lines be 0-0 like this one, but you just watch the game the entire time, and they rendered Messi useless. They really baited Argentina's players into some of the stupidest fouls. And yes, there were plenty of yellow cards called for Argentina within this one, some completely unavoidable. This was dominant. I know the scoreline is not going to reflect what our eyeballs saw within this match, but Messi's international career, whether or not he plays in Copa America, I don't know, comes to a historic end here. Probably his lowest moment in 2016 Copa America outside of the 2014 World Cup, missing penalties and losing. And now losing this final to Spain. It's unfortunate, but I don't think after winning the World Cup in 2022, you can't be that disappointed as a Messi fan. Of course, it's a World Cup final. You're always going to be upset. But at the end of the day, this sort of performance to get you to the final, to give you an opportunity after two assists late into the match against England, this is everything about Messi's greatness and what he was able to do for them. But this finals performance was garbage. Honestly, I've never seen an opponent look so inferior. Hell, even Croatia got on the board against France in 2018. This right here, from minute 1 to minute 120, except the stoppage time in the second half, this was all Spain, all day. I have never seen a more deserving side. Now, I'll talk about, the aspect of Spain only conceding one goal throughout the entire tournament. That also does beat Italy in 2006. However, Italy never conceded an open play goal. It was a penalty for Zidane that was non-existent. Oh, and then by the way, on top of it, Christian Sicardo scored an own goal. Utterly stupid. But Spain, it was more about their midfield shadowing their defense. Kubarsi already a teenager lifting the World Cup. La Liga champion already. Unai Simon again. I just can't say enough. Marc Cucurella heading to Real Madrid off the back of this performance in the World Cup. He was the best left back in this tournament. More flowers to him. Oyarzabal, another great performance in terms of movement and getting involved in the play. Obviously, the goals didn't come for him today. Nico Williams, I thought, was fantastic off the bench for Spain as well. And then you slowly look to the Dani Olmos of the world and the Lamine Yamals. Their worst performances are still good shifts. And that's what makes Spain incredible. This isn't a fluke. And I know they don't have the biggest and sexiest names in every single position, but they have such good and above average players in a sound system. And that allows them to become world champions and European champions at the same time. Spain win their second World Cup. Guys, I don't really have anything left to say. Kudos to them. They were the best team all tournament besides France, and they handled France with no issues. Spain go out on top 1-0. Messi heads off into the sunset with retirement.